Well, we've done it. I've got my first mythical on the free-to-play account. Hello, everyone. Bront, CatHerder here. We're having some fun talking Raid Shadow Legends, and thank you, Raid, for sponsoring this video. We are here on the free-to-pause account because we are going to be talking about, well, I have unlocked a mythical on this account. Now, I did not be pulling some weird shards off stream and not tell you guys, yeah, occasionally I will pull a single shard or two, like for special events, but never a big pull of any kind, and definitely not primals randomly on this account. So, we have Embrys. Many of you saw the video where I pulled Embrys very recently for the, I believe that was the Granite Doorkeep fusion, so that got me Granite Doorkeep. That was very helpful. And I have been investing in him. I've been working on building him. I have built him out. He's in some of the best gear on this account. It still is not super great gear, at least compared to my endgame account where I have an Embrys built that's, not necessarily dissimilar from that, but just not with the same results. I do not have everything glyphed up. I don't have quite everything ascended, the things that happen on a free-to-play account. But he's already been helping me out even before I managed to finish the mastery. And now that I've finished all of his masteries, he is level 60. He's sort of booked. I'm excited to use him, and I kind of want to show you some of the things that I'm going to be doing with him and how he is going to majorly impact this account. So first of all, for reference, I got him approximately 5 days ago, maybe 6. I don't remember exactly when. Right now it's Wednesday as of the week after filming this, and I believe I pulled him on Friday. So yeah, so we're talking 5-ish days behind. So I was somewhere in the neighborhood of 188 days, 185 to 188 days into playing this account, getting Ember. And to be fair, I did sit on him for, well, actually, I don't really think I sat on him. I was able to get him the day of and pulled him that day because it happened to be a champion chase tournament where I could use him for points. So, it's a good time to be getting Embrys, and I'm kind of impressed I got him that quickly, but at the same time, honestly, at one point I thought I was going to get him sooner than that. So for playing Chimera fairly regularly, pushing through, it's definitely hard to get Embrys fragments on normal or easy, but once you can push past normal and easy, getting Embrys fragments is you should be able to get about 3 of them a week at the rate I was getting them. So it's not unreasonable to get Embrys after, maybe 30-40 weeks of doing Chimera. So here we have my Embrys. I have built him in lethal and stone skin. That is going to allow me to do all kinds of fun stuff in the arena. Now, for those of you not particularly familiar with Embrys, Embrys is actually really, really good. So you've got the A1 here. That is an AoE attack that destroys max HP, and it activates stacks of necrosis, which is a debuff that he can put on if people die. That is very, very powerful. It's basically like a poison kind of ramped up a little bit. And he does damage based on HP because he is an HP-based nuker. This is not his damage form. This is his support form. So this does decent damage. In fact, he can solo the Minotaur with this form. Just really, really slow. But he can. He's got the A2 here, which is a True Fear AoE on all enemies and a decrease attack. Cannot be resisted if anybody has necrosis stacks, and then he gets an extra turn. Now, this is the key to using him because this extra turn, we'll talk about his passive in a minute. He's got a A3 here, attacks all enemies. This is kind of his key skill. Removes stone skin and replaces them with True Fear debuffs. Blocks debuff buffs replaced with block buffs, and then other things will get flipped around as well. And then steals 5% of each target's turn meter for each buff converted into a debuff by the skill. Also decreases the turn meter of all enemies by 2%. So you get some turn meter lockout, you get some damage, you get the stone skin strip, you get the buff strip, and these things cannot be resisted if they have any necrosis stacks. But some of these things, like these swaps, can't be resisted, period. So you don't need a ton of accuracy on him, although accuracy is not bad, and that's going to help with that turn meter control as well, especially if you can eventually get the ignore resistance and the extra cooldown on this to make this a 4-turn cooldown. But finally, his passive is where the necrosis goes. The necrosis stack pops on when an enemy is killed, pops on everybody else. Basically, very much similar to the Viper form. When the Viper form kills somebody, or somebody is dead on your team when you're in Chimera and you hit to the Viper form, you get necrosis stacks, and they go away when people are revived, and they pop back on when somebody dies. Does not work against bosses or their minions, which is annoying, but it is what it is. There are multiple champions on the team with this skill. It'll only reactivate once, and at the start and the end of this champion's turn, it instantly activates any necrosis stacks. And at the end, I didn't realize that. So he does this twice on this form. So this is where this becomes very, very important, because if you have necrosis stacks out there, he can take this, his turn ends, he gets an extra turn, he activates necrosis a second time, and then he gets another turn to do something else, which you could then, for example, use this to activate necrosis again, and then his turn ends and necrosis gets activated again as well. So as long as he's in this form, necrosis just keeps on ticking and ticking and ticking, which makes this a very valuable form for Arena. And that is why he is such a good champion for a lot of accounts. This is all really, really busted stuff. And it gets better because he has a second form as well. Get the second form here. The second form, we're going to start with the passive here. When this champion dies, reflects damage equal to 50% of the fatal hit back to the attacker, including any surplus damage. So there is a good chance that he can kill somebody that kills him, or at least do some serious damage to them. And if this champion is about to get killed by a fatal hit, preempts that hit and instantly places a revive on death buff on them for 1 turn before the damage is taken. So you can still block him from reviving from that. Otherwise, he'll get a revive on death on a 5-turn cooldown. So he will bring himself back to life after possibly killing the person that was attacking him in the first place. He also again places the necrosis, as we're talking before. He doesn't activate it instantly, however, because this form is a full damage build, and he doesn't need to be activating it because he can absolutely nuke. His A3 here is swaps HP with an enemy. If the target is a boss, fully restores this champion's destroyed max HP, fully heals this champion instead. So in Hydra, that means he's basically going to fully heal himself and get his max HP back. Against Chimera, he would do the same thing. Not that there's a lot of destroyed HP in Chimera, but this is also really good for things like Amius. This is good for things like he can actually solo the Sand Devil, so that could be very interesting as well. In fact, I'll probably take him in and see if I can do it on this account during this video, so that should be kind of fun. Each time this skill is used, increases this champion's ignore defense effect by 10% while in their alternate form, and he grants an extra turn. So this is a great way to heal him back up, give him more damage by ignoring extra defense, and eventually he'll keep himself alive, get up to 50% additional ignore defense, which is huge. We got the A2 here. An AoE attack all enemy deals double damage to enemies whose accuracy is lower than this champion's, and ignores 50% of each enemy's defense for accuracy is equal to or higher than this champion's accuracy. So either way, you are doing a good amount of damage. And honestly, this is not going to matter too much on how you build. As you deal with harder and harder bosses, you're going to find that the ignore defense is going to be more effective, but that's fine because they're going to have more accuracy than him anyway. And if there's advanced enemies in Arena, honestly, either one of these is probably going to be fine. Ignoring more defense, generally slightly more preferable, so you don't have to build him with a ton of accuracy, and we'll go back to my build a little bit later. But overall, this just smacks, and it does do damage based on his accuracy as well. So having some accuracy on him can increase the damage of this, although not necessarily a huge amount. But we've also got his A1 here, which is a block revive on enemies that have necrosis, and a double hitter against anybody that has necrosis. This can do a good amount of damage as a single hitter, a lot of damage as a double hitter, and that necrosis basically allowing you to do block revive. Actually, I didn't realize the block revive has nothing to do with the necrosis, so that's actually really, really helpful. I thought you actually had necrosis on him for that, so I've been underestimating my Embrys quite a bit, actually. Block revive on the A1 is great. Ally attacks make him a monster if you're using this. The extra hit for necrosis is great. It's a great way to keep people on. So you can do all kinds of cool stuff here. I would love to have a blessing for him. I do not have a blessing. If I did, it would be something like Lightning Cage as an option. Heaven Cast doesn't suck if you're doing a lot of buffs on him as well. You could maybe argue that Nature's Wrath for long play as well is not too bad. Probably not Brimstone on him. That seems like a waste on a Mythical. Maybe Polymorph, maybe Crushing Rend, but probably not quite what you're looking for. Soul Reap could be an interesting one for a nuke-based build as well. Same with Life Harvest, since you're going to be, countering max HPs and possibly eventually blocking a revive with a 1. Could be very helpful to you as well. Temporal Chains, there's a lot of really good options for an Embrys as far as the blessings are concerned. It's probably going to depend on where you use, but he really is a PvP focused champ, which is great because it's nice to have a free champion be very focused on PvP. And honestly, I think when most mythicals are aimed at PvP, that makes the most sense for them, because honestly, it's nice to have a couple of mythicals that work on PvE, but for PvP, that's kind of where the end game is for a lot of players. So it's nice to have the end game chance kind of focus on the PvP. As far as relics are concerned, I've got the Talon on him right now, but you could certainly argue that Wand of Submission would be good for him, and I do have a Wand of Submission on this account. An aspect of Siroth probably wouldn't be horrible for him as well. Could use a Cat's Gaze. I do happen to have one on this account, but it's currently on a champion that I'm not quite sure I want to take it off yet. That's probably where it's going to end up, because I think that would help him a ton with the extra ignore defense. But that said, he has a chance to ignore 50% defense with his A2 if he doesn't have enough accuracy, which, to be fair, I don't have him with tons of accuracy. But he also has other ways to ignore some defense as well. Plus, of course, I've got him in the lethal set as well, so he's going to be ignoring 25% defense here as well. So those are a couple of the good relics. Honestly, good damage dealing relics would be good. Good support relics would be interesting. I mean, Orbit Transfixion could be kind of interesting, especially considering he's going to be doing buff strips anyway. He's constantly putting fears out, so the Molten Death Bell would actually be probably not bad on him as well. He's got some turn meter decrease, so maybe if you want to play on that, you could use this one as well. There's plenty of interesting and good options. The Flesh Render could be kind of interesting, maybe. He doesn't have a self-heal, so probably not. There's options for you in the relics. But here's what we've got. Again, we've got him in 4-piece Stone Skin, so he's got 1 turn of Stone Skin, and that's huge. The fact that I got him in Lethal and Stone Skin is a huge win for this account, because I have not been able to get a Stone Skin Lethal combination on any champion in here. Did I have to make some sacrifices? Yes. This is an attack ring. Really not good for him. It did roll into HP percent once, and then it rolled into a triple mythical defense. I'm almost tempted to re-roll this thing and see if I can get HP or more HP somewhere, other than the fact that I at least have this 11% HP. What I'll probably hope for is if I can get an HP ring of some kind, roll that up, and then maybe I'll re-roll this and see what happens. We do have the crit damage amulet here. I had enough to ascend it fully, and I got HP, which is, not crit damage, but it's better than nothing on an HP damage dealer, so I'll live with it for now. I got HP on the banner ascension, and this is an accuracy banner, mostly because this is the banner that actually gives him the most HP on my account, but it also gives him some speed, and the accuracy seemed like it wasn't a horrible thing for him to have, because he does do all the decrease attack fear as well, which I think could be very helpful for this account. We've got him with crit damage gloves. The fact that I got crit damage gloves on him is pretty impressive. It's, I think, the second champion I've ever gotten crit damage gloves on this account, maybe the third that is, and definitely the second one, if not the first, in Lethal, because I just have not been able to get great crit damage gloves and the rest of the gear around him. I've made this really nice chest a while ago, get some speed and crit rate here, and I split 1 in each, which is fine. Got some really nice speed boots here with some accuracy. I need to ascend to these a little bit more so I can get 11 more speed on those boots. That's going to be huge. Got a pretty nice shield right here. I really wish this was an HP percent instead of defense percent. Otherwise, this is almost perfect for what I'm looking for him. It's only 5-star, but still, it's nice with the nice ascensions. Got a nice helmet for him here, and of course, a really, really nice weapon here that I got really lucky with a single 6-star speed roll. I got 8 points of speed on that bad boy. Awesome. So, total stats here in his base form, we've got 60k HP, we've got the 2.4k defense, you got 234 speed, okay crit damage here, and good stats overall. Plenty of accuracy in the base form. Certainly wouldn't mind a little more accuracy, but at the same time, I really want more HP. I would like to get this up to closer to 80k HP, and I think I can with better ascensions and kind of rolling some things out. But again, this is for an early game account, or I guess I'm not an early game anymore. I'm definitely a mid game to late game account with this one. And yeah, these stats are pretty decent. We go over to the nuker form here. Nuclear form has a bunch of extra HP because you get some more base HP, and that's going to affect everything else as well. Would certainly love more HP here. Would love to get to that 80, 85k would be great. Defense drops off a little bit. Speed drops off a little bit. Get a little more crit damage. Accuracy is still the same. Overall, good stats for where this account is sitting. So here's the thing with having him now. I can go into against some of these teams and I can actually understand that I have Stone Skin on my Emrys and he is going to stay alive, which means I can deal with some of these teams that I might not have even bothered to try beforehand. And if I get outsped, I have not lost the fight. For example, we take a look at this team here, and yeah, this is a team I would certainly take here. Live arena's open. That's good. I'm going to need that a little bit later. And we can run this team against this team here. And with this team power, I would not have been surprised if somebody here is in Stone Skin, but I may not care. I may get locked out with Fabian. I may not care because if Embrys gets locked out, he can still change over to his other form and murder everybody. So we're going to go into this fight here. I don't have this on auto. We'll see if I actually win the speed race. I've got a shot because I do have an arbiter. So we won the speed race. Nobody, well, that's not true. Mithrala has Stone Skin. So what I can do is let's lock some of these folks out. Now Fabian doesn't get locked out, so Fabian is still going to get a turn. But I can strip Mithrala of Stone Skin, which means now I can use my Alice and see if we can kill a bunch of people. And I can. Now, probably not the best team to show that off on necessarily, but that's a team I might not have even tried on the account prior to having Embrys on this account, because I knew if somebody had Stone Skin and the wrong person had Stone Skin, I was absolutely hosed in that fight. So the ability to remove all that Stone Skin gives me some great flexibility. Now in this team here, I also expect there to be some Stone Skin, possibly on this dude right here, Heffrack. That's a great way to build a Heffrack. I wish I could put my Heffrack in Stone Skin. I don't have a lot of Stone Skin, and right now the better Stone Skin is going to be on my Embrys, because Embrys is going to be a much better champion than Heffrack. So we're going to start this here and see if I can win the speed battle, and if I can't, well, you see what I had here. Heffrack is in Stone Skin, so I do have to worry about him there. Let's just get you. These guys have been locked out, but with Embrys on, he's not locked out yet, so we're not in trouble yet. So we're going to see if we can fear you, and then we're going to get rid of your Stone Skin and other stuff like that. And then let's kill you if we can. Not quite. But, you know, we got some fears on people, so that's been great. And the beginning where the Stone Skin got the fears. So yeah, I still lost. You know, it happens. But I'm not afraid to try some of these teams now because of the Stone Skin and the fact that I can go through it with Embrys. And if I want Embrys to clap, he can absolutely clap. So we're going to take on this team here. This team is not super strong. I should be able to beat this team without a problem. But I kind of want to show off Embrys' damage just a little bit in arena. So we will be changing over to him. Plus we can actually see some of these necrotic stacks that we're going to get from him as well. So got his increased speed. Got everybody locked out with the speed as well. We are going to do the extra turn right here. Change over to Embrys. Now, I could use this extra turn here to hit one of these guys and do a health swap. I don't necessarily need to, so I don't think I'm going to. It would add extra ignore defense, but we're just going to kind of see what kind of damage we can do there. And we got rid of everybody but this dude over here, Helicath. And if Helicath had managed to take a turn, well, I certainly could have dealt with him with my Alice, and we will do that now. So, decent damage with Embrys. Let's take him into a live arena tournament and see if I can get him involved in a live arena fight. All right, so I lost my Arbiter. That's usually a major problem for me. I am going to assume that this person at level 100 might actually have an Embrys, so I think I'm going to draft Embrys first and draft my Fabian. Okay, so we got Sun Wukong as well, who maybe I should have drafted for that extra speed aura. I failed to do so, so we are going to need some kind of other speed champion or speed aura. We are going to go with Morgaine. And we are going to go with, I don't want another force damage dealer. I've got a couple of non-force options, so I will instead go with Donatello. All right, so Looking at this team here, we're going to go with Michelangelo as my other nuker. He is built to do some serious damage, and I think that will be a good overall mix. Plus, if I get Donnie and Michelangelo, we should be good. I think I need to ban Arbiter because they do not get a speed booster if I ban Arbiter, which may prevent them also from getting Nishak off. Now, Nishak is dangerous against the Stone Skin, but hey, he locked out my Fabian, which means I'm going to get a speed aura. He's going to get a better speed aura with Monkey King, but he doesn't have a speed champion. So there's a good chance that my Morgaine still should be able to outspeed the other team. So we can. And again, I don't have anybody locked out here, but we can boost turn meter with you. You can get the fear and the decrease attack out. That's going to be very important for locking down you. You know, Alice got a turn, but that's fine. Flip over right here. And my hope is we're going to nuke at least 2 of these champions with this ability here. And in fact, I think I am going to swap with one of these guys just to get that extra increased defense or ignore defense. Didn't quite get anybody, but here we go. Mikey should be able to finish this. There we go. Got a live arena fight done. Nice and easy to deal with. You know, he's a good champion. The fact that they did not ban him is pretty impressive. Maybe they don't like Fabian. Maybe this was a bit of a bot. I don't know. This seems like a reasonable team for somebody to bring. In fact, Cardiel's a really good champion. I just happened to beat them on speed, and Embrys did a lot of work. He's hitting hard. He's doing damage. He's given me the ability to get through Stone Skin, and he's been just really kind of strong for me so far. So that is my first mythical. That is Embrys. I've invested some books in him. In fact, I can show you right now. We've got 2 books that happen to fall into his A1, and I got 1 book into the A3, so I get the extra cooldown on this. And I got 2 books into this one, which means I got the 20% extra damage and the cooldown, and I only got 10% damage here. I would not mind this extra 20% damage. Honestly, he's a champion that is worth fully booking out in general. I would kind of hoping I was going to get, you know, maybe one of these things here or one of these things here to get the ignore resistance and maybe the increased cooldown. Instead, they both fell into the A1, which is the skill that I honestly like the least on Embrys. But, you know, it's there and it's a skill. So I could have saved up my mythical books, but the only other mythical that I know that I will be getting at some point is going to be Lady Mikage. And, well, I'm not close to her yet. It's kind of hard to see, but I only have 3 of the epics for the legendaries right here. And, yeah, I've got a couple of Lethlands, and I could forge a Weregrin. But I'm pretty far away from Mikage, so it's probably going to be another 4 to 6 months before Mikage is really a good option for me, because, you know, it's going to take me a while to pull a lot of those champions, especially if they don't have any of the guaranteed events that they have actually had before for some of those Mikage epics. So, you know, that's where I am with this account. I am super excited to have a new mythical. I'm super excited for some of the other champions that I have pulled as well. I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with April. I'm going to have some fun with Raphael and the other turtles as well, because I've been enjoying having some fun with Donatello and Michelangelo, so having the other turtles built will be great as well. I'm certainly looking forward to using Granite Doorkeep. In fact, I've been using him off and on in other content, even when he's not quite fully built, and he's been very helpful on this account as well. And once he is fully built, he's going to be super exciting. So I've got a lot of work going on the free-to-play. I've got a lot of champions to build, and I've got, you know, basically a lot of stuff to spend some time and resources in, which is probably why I'm going to be skipping the next fusion. Next fusion does look good, and I'll do a video on the next fusion tomorrow talking about that. Well, for me, it'll be tomorrow. For you guys, it might have been yesterday. I don't know. But I will do a video on the fusion and let you know what I think of her. But for the most part, I think she's not a bad champion. I just have so much stuff to do on this account. I am going to spend some time focusing inward and try and reinforce it with the champions that I have, rather than continuing to pursue more and more champions, particularly ones that I might struggle to build to be ultra effective. So hey, let me know down below. Do you have Embrys yet? How far away are you from him? Do you like using him? Has he changed your account? I would love to hear about it. You know, what do you think about some of these, you know, videos like this where I talk about the impact of a champion on my free-to-play account? I love hearing from you guys. You guys are absolutely amazing. Hit that like video, hit that like button, and hit that subscribe button. You guys are absolutely amazing. One of the best communities in Raid Shadow Legends. And until the next video, I am Bront, CatHerder.